Kristine. I'll just do a brief intro. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Reckless Comedy Podcast. This is another episode in season 3. Can you believe we made it to season 3? Yes, because I keep renewing it. My co-host today is the brilliant Kristine Knowlton, as always, and Kristine, who is our wonderful guest today.
Oh, we have a wonderful treat for you. She's just gotten done her debut week at Heathers. She's amazingly talented. So please give it up and welcome Olivia Barrett Legh.
Woo!
Woo! Welcome, Olivia. It's so great for you to be here. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Excellent. So, of course, as we were saying before, congratulations on your professional debut in Heathers. First question really was, what was the emotions like going through that first show, that professional debut? And of course, those who have seen Heathers, the Heathers reveal, what was that like?
You say that one more time.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it again. Cut this bit. So with the debut, when you made your professional debut, what was the emotions going through there? Obviously, like with the show, the big Heathers reveal with all the lights and the smoke. What was that like, the emotions?
It was mental. Honestly, I think before we actually opened the show, I thought that I was quite worried because I was like, I think I'm going to cry when the Heathers reveal happens, because I'd had it in my head. I was so excited. I was worried that I'd get a little bit emotional, which is not very Heather Chandler of me. When the actual bleachers were, parted to reveal Heathers, but we were so stressed is the wrong word, excited, but we wanted so badly to put on a really good show that we were running around like Heather's chickens. Like I said, when's my scene change? What's after me inside of me? Okay, brilliant. We'd written out the order on a big whiteboard backstage so we could quickly run and go, right, that's next. Okay, brilliant. So for the majority of the show, it was just work mode. And then it didn't hit until the bows, that very last, like when we're giving it the beautiful punches, that it wasn't really until then that I realized there was an audience. And I just lost it. I don't know, I think I might have been the only person on stage crying, which is a little bit embarrassing. So I was trying to hide it, but not very well. There's a few pictures that people had got of me, and I'm clearly just like a blubbering mess. So it was really emotional because they say you only make your professional debut once, and even more so to make your professional debut as your dream role in your dream job was a lot. It was very, very special, really special.
Of course, and with it being a dream role, as we said before, you've seen the show a couple of times. Who was the first Heather Chandler you ever saw?
So the first Heather Chandler I ever saw, well, the first time I watched Heathers was like a bootleg online of the American shows. It's actually Jessica Keenan Wynn, I think is how you pronounce her name. Yeah. And immediately obsessed. And her Chandler was quite it's crazy how different they all are, because I saw Jessica and then I saw Maddie, and I didn't get to see Jodie Steele or Emma Kingston, unfortunately, but the difference between those two, I mean, also the difference in the way they look, like I was just obsessed, and I thought surely I can fit in somewhere in the middle there. I was so desperate to play the role. But yeah, so Jessica was the first one I saw online, but live, Maddie. And oh my God, she's incredible. There's loads of videos online of little snippets. Not that I'm encouraging you to watch bootlegs, but there's the motion capture, the film.
Yeah.
You get the opportunity. Oh my God, do it.
Yeah.
She is. Oh.
Yeah, the pro shot, which might as well advertise it here. You're welcome, production team.
Yes.
But yeah, the pro shot, we've obviously seen little snippets of it, and ironically, the pro shot is somehow you can find it on YouTube. The producers are going to hate me for this now, but it's like The pro shot is really good. Like normally with like pro shots, I'm sort of like, this is going to be interesting. But the Heathers pro shot, I feel like they got every bit right. And you got to think they took the show off sale for like 2 whole weeks to film that thing.
I think it worked as well because I think some people were a bit concerned because it's one of those shows where you really do need an audience to. You're playing with the audience a lot. There's a lot of moments that are either not meant to be funny, but are there for your entertainment as well as to aid the scene, right? Like I can't imagine saying the chainsaw, the iconic chainsaw line without an audience, just letting it like sort of go off into nothing. It's quite funny. The idea of that's quite funny to me. But they changed little bits, and if you've seen the show lots of times, you'll notice there are tiny bits of choreography, there are tiny lines here and there that are just ever so slightly different. I think that's why it works so well, because I mean, Andy Fickman, the director, he's not only a theatre director, he didn't just direct Heathers, he's directed some massive films. Like I literally watched She's the Man 2 days ago, and I was like, I can't believe that I've worked with the director on this. So he's very used to working on a set with cameras without an audience. So I think the cast of the pro shot were really lucky that they had such an experienced director helping them through that, helping them navigate it.
Yeah, and when the pro shot was announced, it sort of came out of nowhere because everyone just saw that 2 weeks worth of like seats that had previously been booked were getting refunded. And then it all went silent for a while, and then obviously they announced that they were recording it. And of course we were talking about, you know, like everyone gets attached to like certain casts. The pro shot was evident of that people were like, oh, is Carrie Hope Fletcher going to come back? Is Jodie going to come back? Is Jamie going to come back? And it was always funny watching people try and predict who was going to come back, because, you know, we'd all love like Jamie Moscato like to come back and play JD. I don't know if you've seen him as Christian in Moulin Rouge yet.
And I have.
Oh my God, his Christian, I'm just watching it going, is this what would have happened if JD hadn't have gone off the rails?
Yeah, it's interesting that what you said about people getting really attached to different casts, and we spoke a little bit about this before we started. I think it's a really beautiful thing that people, it's often the first cast they see, and I've had with other shows. You watch a show for the first time, and that's your cast. That's the cast that told you the story for the first time, and you don't forget that. And I think actually it can be quite difficult then to let go of that cast and make room for a new one, which is why I'm so grateful that people have welcomed us with such open arms, and fans have been incredible. But the thing that's been really lovely for us to see is the people that are coming and watching it for the first time, and suddenly we are their cast. And there's been a pretty healthy mix of people that come to stage door and they're like, this is my 50th time watching the show, which blows my mind. They've seen like every single cast, versus people that are like, this is the first time I've watched it and I want to watch it 50 times. Like I want to come back and I'll see you next week type of thing. So yeah, it's just got the most incredible fan base, and I think that's very special for a show, especially in England. I can't really think of another show that has as big a fan base as this, and maybe Six. I think Six, the Queendom's quite.
Yeah.
It often crosses, I find as well. People that are fans of Heathers are also pretty big Six fans, because they're both stories that people can relate to. I'm not saying people can obviously relate to marrying, divorcing Henry VIII, whatever, but that feminist,
yeah,
people love it, and I love it. So I can see why the fan bases are so big.
Yeah, I think what helps as well is, like, if we're going to use Six as a comparison, you know, certain Heathers cast members have previously been in Six. Jodie was in Six for a while. I think after Heathers, I think, or just sort of after. Trying to think who else. Lauren Drew as well, who was a cover for Heather Chandler, also Six for a while. Just to name a few off the top of my head. So it's always nice seeing those sort of parallels between Heather's and Six, both constantly really clashing. And yeah, I don't think there's many shows in the UK that have a big fan base. I feel like, yeah, it's definitely Heather's, Six, and I think Bonnie and Clyde is coming up close, because the Hellraisers as they call them, are going nuts.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how I found a lot of these actors that are jumping from those kind of fandom-based shows, a lot of them started in Heathers. I think Jodie did Six before, I'm pretty sure, or maybe not, fact check me on that. We had a really funny moment with the director in rehearsals the other day, because obviously Frances May-Lee was in Heathers, as was Jordan Luke Gage.
Yep.
And we were laughing so hard about the line, I'm not Bonnie, you're not Clyde. Actually, yes.
Yes.
About that, it's so funny, and it's so nice to see the support, especially from the creative team. We do this little ritual in rehearsals where ex-cast members will record a video saying good luck, trust the process, just basically giving us a word of encouragement, because they know how stressful it can be. And they're sat in the dressing rooms of like Bonnie and Clyde or this or that, and Andy just champions them so hard. He's always sharing stuff, so we're saying, right, let's go, like, you must go see Bonnie and Clyde, you must go see Six, you must go see this because an ex-Heathers cast member is in it. And so there's so much support from the team even after you leave.
Yeah, it is always like the line, you're not that line in I Say No is just so funny. And anyone who hasn't seen this video, there was a video on social media, I think it was not long after Jordan Luke Gage was announced to be Clyde Barrow in Bonnie and Clyde, where they took a snippet of that line in I Say No, and then it cut to the advert for Bonnie and Clyde where it says introducing Jordan Luke Gage as Clyde Barrow.
So
and it was funny.
I mean, talk about manifesting things for yourself. Do you know what I mean?
It's hysterical. It's like, wow, I'm like so jealous of like the support over there, because being in America, a lot of times like when shows are done or whatever and characters, sometimes they go over to different shows, but it's like literally they leave, like there's like no support. I'm like, wow. I mean, there's a little bit, but not as much as you think, and it's crazy. I'm like, this is amazing. But yeah, the whole Bonnie and Clyde thing, Kim and I actually do a show, and I actually get to sing some of the Bonnie and Clyde songs, and then we go right into the song I Say No, and I'm like, I'm not Bonnie, you're not Clyde, and I'm like, wait a minute, we just did a Bonnie and Clyde number. How does that work?
Oh, funny.
I love it as well. And obviously, like, past cast members, we could talk all day. The amount of casts, it's always funny. We talked about this, about like emergency covers coming back. It's always it's always interesting seeing.
Could you sorry,
I hadn't said much, trust me. Basically, like we were talking about, like, emergency covers like coming back. It's always fun seeing different audience reactions to like covers like coming back. We've seen so many different covers, as we were talking about. We've seen Jacob Fowler go from geek to JD to preppy stud. We've even seen it's like, what?
Yeah, often this is kind of just a thing in the industry. People sometimes get a bit upset when they're like, oh, I didn't realize a cover was going to be on tonight. The covers are often the most incredible people to watch, because to be able to learn more than one track, like I've got it actually relatively really easy. I go in every day, I do the same track, but especially in Heathers, people are always covering more than one track. So for example, cover Chandler, New Wave Girl, is Georgia Anderson at the minute, and she's not just covering me, she's also covering Heather Mack, which are two mammoth roles, right? whilst also working on her ensemble track and learning her ensemble track and doing cover rehearsals before a show. And they work so hard. By the time they go on for that cover, it's honestly like sometimes better than the person that you were expecting to see, because not that there's anything to prove, but it's like, yes, this is my show, this is my time to go on and have loads of fun with this role that I've been working on behind the scenes. So it's often incredible. And I noticed that a lot about the fan base for Heathers. They are so supportive of covers, and it's so nice because that never happens. And you know, often people don't realize that they're watching covers, which is a good thing, because you know, covers are always amazing, and it never diminishes the quality of the show. But we should be celebrating it because they work really hard. They work so hard. And by saying, oh, tonight on for, I don't know, JD is Elliot Parks, it's not saying, oh, by the way, you're watching a cover. It's this person who's worked really, really hard is being celebrated tonight. Come and join that celebration. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember trying to think. I think there was one time, I love it when it's like unexpected cover like announcements as well, because that's the fun thing with like the other palace, is that you never know who's genuinely going to be on for what role until you get there. Like obviously it is always nice when, you know, like theatres or shows announce who's going to be on in advance, but it's always fun playing that game of like, oh, who's on today. Like I think the last trip I did to Heathers, I turned up thinking, okay, we're gonna get, you know, maybe there's probably gonna be a couple of covers on, because I think Maddie was off ill for like a week, 2 weeks. So it was like, okay, there's definitely gonna be someone on. And we had Georgia Gagan and Billy Bowman both on for two of the Heathers. And I love just turning up and not knowing who's on. Another example of this is the show and Juliet. First time I ever saw the show, I went in expecting to see Jordan Luke Gage as Romeo. And we had Alex Tranter as Romeo, who Alex Tranter's Romeo was just, it's just funny. If anyone's seen the show, the character of Romeo is just hilarious. Just in itself, it's just hilarious. But yeah, it's always, I love how, I feel like nowadays understudies are being appreciated a hell of a lot more than they used to be. And I'm in love with that. I genuinely love that.
Well, it's about time, because they are the hardest working members of the cast, and I think it's very easy to, like, for example, actually, Veronica. I mean, I bow down to Miracle. Like I said, no matter how stressed I feel in the show, sometimes I just look at Miracle and I go, you know what? She's really keeping her cool, and she's just getting on with it, and she's on every single scene, pretty much every song. Like, if she can do it, then we can all do it, right? But then you take that a step further and you go, Sophie Hutchinson, who's Drama Club drama queen, is doing a show as that, learning all the big ensemble choreography numbers, which, you know, we call Never Shut Up the Jellicle Ball of Heathers, because it's so intense to sing and dance that number. Everyone always comes off like sweating buckets. But to learn all of that, and then to have to learn the entire leading lady track, which, I mean, Veronica carries that whole show on her shoulders. That's so intense. And I think it would be doing covers and understudies a real disservice if we weren't celebrating them, which actually takes me on to, I think I'm allowed to say this, Heathers are now starting to announce when covers are going on. So like recently, cast Liam Dean, who is Hipster Dork, recently went on for either Ram or Kurt's dad, I can't remember, but we saw it on the Heathers Instagram page. We were like, oh my god, people are being announced now? And then we had this big social media chat with the social media team. They're like, yeah, they've been fighting for it for a while, and now it's finally coming to fruition. So yeah, it's going to be so nice to see people sharing that and sharing the appreciation for the people that just work the hardest in the whole country.
Yeah, that's something I think Heather's with like covers, and obviously it's really interesting to talk about this, mainly due to the whole Heather's not having enough swings situation, which has been something that's gone on for a while. As you can imagine, it's one of them things that, you know, obviously as the cast, you can't really comment really about, but I feel like Heathers are now starting to sort of realize where the problems were, because you know, you got to think, when perfect example, Hannah Lowther was in the cast, you know, she basically ended up playing all three Heathers at one point. One of them she didn't even cover.
Yeah.
So obviously with this cast, you've got Megan Hill as well as one of the covers for, I do believe, the Heathers, which is just going to be so much fun, I think.
Yeah. So Megan is second cover all three Heathers, and they also cover the entire ensemble. And again, they are one of the most hardworking people, always backstage in the dressing rooms, going over maps and stuff just in case. But the good thing about Heathers is, I mean, I think even the fan base can relate to this. I wouldn't be shocked if one day we call up like a super fan of Heathers and go, could you cover Heather Duke? And they go, yeah. Because when you're involved with the show for a while, you just, you know, in your peripherals, you just know where people are at all times. And actually, you could probably pick out any ensemble member and go, could you cover this? Could you cover that? And they go, yeah, I know the show like the back of my hand. Which is why people come back, because they don't need the rehearsal time, because it's just so ingrained, and it's a relatively easy show, I think, to just know where everyone is. Even backstage, if I go, oh, I need to ask, I don't know, Kane something. Oh, You're Welcome's on. I know that he's in the stage right wing doing backing vocals right now, so I can just go and ask him. You're just very aware. It's a very small space. It's very intimate, which means you just know where everyone is at all times. So it's easy in that respect. I'm sure easier said than done, though.
Yeah,
sure.
Of course.
Yes.
So briefly moving away from Heathers, how did you get into wanting to be a performer? Where did the passion start for performing?
To be honest, I don't really remember a time where anything else was an option. And very quickly, I think my parents could see it so much more than anything else. I started dancing literally just in my local village hall with a company called FSD, who I stayed on with for years and years and years. And then I was a stagecoach kid, so I did stagecoach from when I was 5 to when I was 18. And I did all the big shows in London, kind of like their version of MYMT. And it wasn't really until I was 14 or 15 doing my GCSEs that I thought, no, this is what I want to do, and I want to do it properly. So I auditioned for drama sixth forms and went to Reed College, which, oh my goodness, that was the best 2 years of my life. And recently, Reed very nearly got shut down because of funding issues. And everyone that went there, or anyone that knows about Reed, loves it so much. In 2 weeks, I think they raised like over £40,000 because people just running to their aid. So if you're thinking about going to a drama sixth form, please look at Reed, because it is just incredible. And then from Reed, I did the musical theatre degree at Arts Ed, and again, some of the best years of my life. Incredible place. But I think it is worth mentioning that drama school is not the only route. For me, it's what worked for me, because from a very young age, I decided that's what I wanted to do. But I went to Arts Ed actually with a boy who did an entire law degree before going to Arts Ed. He didn't start arts until he was in his early 20s. And there's no age limit on it. There's no time limit on it. I think sometimes people think, oh, I'm too old to audition for drama school, or I don't really want to go to drama school. Will I ever get a job in the industry? There are a million and one ways into this. And if you've got the passion and you've got the work ethic, then it's definitely not the only route.
Of course. And talking about Arts Ed, you know, you did a lot of stuff at Arts Ed. We'll talk about some of them. So we'll start off with the vote. We'll start off with the vote. So you played the role of Kirsty.
Yeah, so the vote was a slightly smaller scale production that we did. It was we did these projects a couple, I think a couple times a year, maybe once a year, and that was our acting project. And it's a comedy play, which I hadn't done a lot of plays before. And it was a role that got switched up between me and I think two other girls, one of which Chrissy Beamer. So me and Chrissy Beamer shared that role, and she's now playing Sandy Cheeks in the tour of SpongeBob.
Oh,
which
wow.
which is incredible. Yeah, that was a fun one, but it was a bit smaller compared to the other ones.
Of course. And then after the vote was La La Love, which you were the ensemble in that. What was that like?
Oh, that was so much fun. So this was a dance project that we did, and it was choreographed by the incredible Darren Carnell, who is, I believe, I think choreographer, not assistant choreographer, of Back to the Future. And oh my God, it's such a gem. We spent a full week with him, just every single day, morning till night, choreographing this piece that was based on La La Land. And he's just the most dreamy soul. And actually we all auditioned for Back to the Future, obviously in our third year, and it was just so lovely to come in and see such a friendly face, because he's also the talent in that man. Oh my God, he can choreograph. He's brilliant. That was one of the most fun things I think I did at Arts Ed, actually. Really great fun.
Of course, another things you did at Arts Ed was next was Sondheim on Sondheim. What was that like? Because I hear that can be quite like a taxing show, I hear.
Yeah, so it was like an amalgamation of Sondheim songs. And I think that this is sort of the best thing about Arts Ed for me. The people that we work with on these projects are just like second to none. We worked with Michael Haslam, who he is a teacher at Arts Ed, but also had experience working with Sondheim, and he had so many stories up his sleeve about times that, you know, way back when you're allowed to smoke inside, sat in a theatre watching a show with Sondheim, just sharing a packet of cigarettes and just like talking the day away. And oh my God, if I could sit and listen to that man talk all day. He's a very, very talented musical director. And I think the songs, my main song in that was If Mama Was Married, When Mama Was Married, from Gypsy. It's so long ago now, I'm really having to dig. Which I sang with a girl called Maria in our year. Yeah, it's really good fun. Just these are like little performance opportunities throughout the year that all build up to our third year shows right at the end.
Of course, and I feel like the next project that Arts Ed is very relevant now with it going on tour, the SpongeBob musical. With it going on tour, which I am genuinely excited to see that show. I remember watching like a bootleg of it on Broadway, and I was like, I have to see this show. We have to get it over here. And then, of course, you get to do it.
Yeah, so we did the European premiere of it, and do you know what? I absolutely loved every second of that show. And if you can go and see it, it will not be a waste of time. It's something that didn't stand out to me straight away as something that would be a really great show. But then we listened to it and we started working on it. I was like, oh my God, this shouldn't be this good. Like, how is this about a sea sponge and their friends this good? But it's hilarious. It's a really, really funny show. The music's amazing. And it was written by all of these different pop stars and like bands. And of course, I got to play Squidward alongside a girl in my year called Caitlin Allen. And we, as far as I know, were two of, I think it was done once with MYMT or something of that nature before, but we were the first women to play Squidward. And that was, I'll be honest, it was quite challenging to begin with, because if you've watched the cartoon, Squidward's just this like grumpy male presenting character. And when we got to it, the director was quite, he was very certain that that's not what he wanted for us. What he wanted was for us to be like old ex-Broadway stars, and like we're just a little bit spiteful of all these people that are so happy around us. And it was incredible to just completely build a character basically from scratch. Even though, you know, people were probably expecting the grumpy old man kind of character, but it definitely made Squidward's song a lot more interesting, because in a male register, or in a like a baritone register, that note doesn't sit very high. But if you put it in someone who has a higher voice, suddenly the octave up, it's like, so it brings a lot more, I think, oomph to the song, which makes it more of an 11 o'clock number. So yeah, I wouldn't say too much. Go and watch it, but it's incredible. One of the best shows I've ever done.
Of course, like the SpongeBob musical, it's, for those who are listening, it's going on tour, but it is also coming to London for a short period at the South Bank Centre. It's going to be there for a little while. As someone who grew up with the SpongeBob cartoon, it's like just being thrown back to like the early 2000s at this point. It's like, oh my God. So yeah, so you got
iconic lines like the SpongeBob laugh and all the jokes with Patrick and SpongeBob. Yeah, there's loads of it. It's great.
Yeah, I remember annoying the hell out of my mum with the SpongeBob laugh as a kid. Like, I remember annoying the hell out of it. And then obviously also at Arts Ed, gentlemen prefer blondes. What was that like?
That was a big gear change. We've literally just finished this really contemporary, really funny, crazy show. And we were then, literally, we finished the show on the Sunday. And then on the Monday, we started rehearsals on the Tuesday, we started rehearsals for Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, which is this beautiful, legit, very old style musical, which is funny, definitely, for sure, in its own right. But it was just so different that I think it took us a while to go, whoa. We sort of had a bit of a SpongeBob hangover, and it took us a hot minute to get into this headspace of, right now, instead of commercial and like these different, I mean, we were fish, right? We were fish in the last show, so we had all these like weird postures and physicalities. To get out of that and then to get into this really poised, no, now we're on a luxury, the show is set on a cruise, basically, like a luxury cruise. And that was a difficult one to get our heads around. But once it all came together, the music had to be the best part of that show. And we had the most incredible MD, who, his name's Jordan Lee Smith, and he works on all sorts at the minute. I know he works with MYMT quite a lot, but he's also working on a new musical right now called Berlusconi. And I mean, if you ever get a chance to watch a show that he has MD'd, do it, because he's just got like another level of talent. He's just got an incredible ear, and he had our show sounding like an old Disney film. You know, like all the backing vocals in Snow White and things. Oh, it was stunning. Really great experience.
So with Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, what year was this?
What year was it set in, or when did they do it?
Or like, what year did you do the production? Because I know there was a production of it in 2019 at the Union. So
we did it, I think it wasn't very long ago. It was 2021, I think. No, 2022. Okay. 2022 we did it. So literally last year, because I graduated from Arts Ed in this September just gone. So it was the last show we did there. I think we started it in February. That's when we started rehearsals. Or no, maybe that's when it finished. timings, I'll be honest, that third year at Ed, it was chaotic to say the least. So I think I'm right in there, but it was definitely 2022. So really recently, hopefully that gets to remember, because it's an incredible show.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously the production about our Gentlemen Prefer Blondes I was referring to there had a couple of Heather's co-stars in it. Freddie King, who was JD at one point, he was in it. I'll say this, Freddie's JD was so underrated, and it is such a shame he had to pull out of the show after COVID knocked him. It proper knocked him for anything. But hopefully we'll see Freddie come back as JD at some point.
He's I mean, never say never with this show, you know. They bring back people.
I mean, literally, with the final cast change, like the cast change that just happened, you had Tom Scanlon on for Kurt for the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
He was brilliant as well. He was really, really funny.
I mean, Tom as Ram, I saw him when he originally was Ram. Him and George Madison as Ram and Kurt was just, those two characters, I feel, those two characters in general, they're a lot more funnier than they should be. Like, they just end up doing like some weird stuff that no one sees coming out of nowhere. And that really brings me on to the point of, have there been any moments so far, obviously very early into the run, where you've nearly like corpsed into laughter?
Yes. For me, so Me Inside of Me is an interesting number, because for me it's like the most high energy, because I'm running around like an idiot, right, trying to like just realizing that I've come back from the dead. I think it's important to notice as well that, so when Chandler comes back from the dead, she's not a ghost. She is a figment of Veronica's imagination, of her conscious. So everything she does, her coming back is a bit of a goofy, like, isn't a mistake. It's because actually it's not Chandler at all. It's Veronica, which I mean, I love that moment where Veronica snaps at Martha, which goes, "Oh, you floor me, Martha," and makes Martha cry, and to avoid Martha actually getting to the bottom of the fact that it was her and JD, that Veronica and JD, that killed those three people. But anyway, I digress. Me Inside of Me is very high energy for me, but for everyone else on stage, they're just stood there singing with the suicide note in their hand. And it's one of those ones where the further into the run, we're like, how can we make this more interesting? And there's moments where I turn up stage and I look at them and I'm like, can they see me? Can they see me? Am I really dead? And I go up to certain people. Their one note that they were given in this song is, don't look at Olivia because she's not really there. So I challenge them. I go right up to their faces. I'm like, hello, like this. And if they, there were moments where I'm like, I actually have to stop doing this now because it's going to start looking really unprofessional. But that for me is the only time where I've been like, stop it, because it's also like I'm walking around like, oh my god, what's going on? If I'm then laughing, obviously it doesn't fit. But little moments like that, that's why I when people come and watch the show, I always tell them, don't necessarily watch just what's happening in the scene. Look in the background, because people are doing the job and getting it done, but they're having a lot of fun, and it's really nice to watch, I think, as an audience member sometimes, because those little characters are having their own little scene, and people go full out. They've got backstories, they've got like, how do our characters know each other? Have we ever been in a relationship? What's going on? Like, are we having a breakup right now? While Veronica and JD are singing "Our Love Is God" in the corner, getting a really emotional moment. So yeah, that's also, there was a moment where myself, Will, and Christian, who play Kurt and Ram, we come on stage because JD's just said, "Who's next? Heather Duke?" We could and we come on to be like, "Veronica, you're not going to do anything." We are so we have to come on and hide behind the bleacher at that point. And we're so like up close to each other like this. We're like looking at each other like, yeah, okay, right. And then when we explode out and the audience get that laugh, we then go straight back in, and we have to stay there and wait until the door opens again. And we just lose it every single time. We're like, if the audience knew that we were sat here like, oh, in between that. It's the two of my favourite moments, I think, at the minute. To just
Yeah, I think I love that line where, like, obviously, you know, you've just had, I do believe, Dead Gay Son. You've just had this massive, you know, you've just had Dead Gay Son, this massive big moment, which always gets an audience reaction. I love the audience reactions during Dead Gay Son. But then it's just the dark humour that line that JD says gets, and it's always funny trying to listen for an audience reaction. One of my favourite audience reactions to that is, I can't remember who was playing JD. I think it was either Jacob Fowler was playing JD or someone else. I can't remember. It might have been Simon Gordon. But they said, they did the line, so who's next? You know, they did that line of, sorry, yeah, I realised that.
You repeat that one more time, just from
yeah, yeah, no worries. Everyone listening to this, you're going to have a lot of fun. So basically, we were just talking about like the funny audience reactions to like when JD goes, so who's next? And I think it was Jacob Fowler or Simon Gordon. And they did that line, and the audience reaction was hilarious because half the audience go, oh, come on. You know what I mean?
I lost
oh my days.
You know,
Rewind.
I did, but on that note, the first time Ellis said that line, I don't know why I've never clocked that line is actually really funny, and it just got this raw like eruption from the audience, this big laugh, and we were all like, oh yeah. There's so many lines like that in the show where we're like, in rehearsals we just didn't even pick up on the fact that it's funny, and then they say it and the audience starts to like, oh yeah, that's so funny. How did we not pick up on that?
It took me a couple of trips. It took me a couple of times to realise, oh, this is actually a really dark line here. Because it all depends on who's playing JD. Like, Jacob's was just nuts. Like, Jacob would genuinely just like, it looked like he was blanking out. Like, as if he was just blanking out. And he'd look out at the audience and go, so who's next? And you click in your head of, oh, come on. You've just killed a couple more people. Oh, come on.
Yeah. There's another line like that. I can't remember. Oh, it'll come back to me. I'll circle back to it when I can remember it. But yeah, no, it's brilliant when those moments come out. It's so funny. Oh, that's it. As well on stage is when, and trigger warning here, because obviously there's a lot of themes of suicide in the show. But it's when we reveal that Veronica attempted suicide, and when her mum comes in, sees her and has that really visceral reaction of, oh my god, Veronica, and then Veronica's like, no, it's just a joke. I was like, you must be joking. You must be joking. But you can't help but laugh because it's like, it's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be really uncomfortable, which is what makes it so funny when you get that comic relief of, oh no, it's just a joke. And then you get Veronica's mum going, it's funny. Like, because it's not funny at all, but that's why it's so funny. And so yeah, that always gets, the reaction from the audience is always that bit. And then when Veronica says, they didn't kill themselves, I killed them. When you get a full audience all audibly gasp at the same time, it's really hard to keep your cool, because that's funny. Like on stage, watching an audience all go, because you know what's about to happen. You know that Kiki, our lovely Heather Duke, is about to leave it a long time for it to sink in that she's just said that, until she starts laughing again, and then you just see the whole audience go, oh my god, thank God for that. Like, it's so brilliant. I love it because we can see every. I think a lot of the times when you're on stage, the lights are very bright and the audience are actually quite far away from you. So you can't see anyone's faces. But at the other palace, it's so intimate. We can see everything. We can see everyone's face. We can see where we're all sat, which is why when we've got people in that we know, I almost have to switch off a little bit in terms of looking at the audience, because otherwise, look at you, because otherwise I'll laugh. Like it's quite, I really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Of course. I think what's also quite funny with it, talking about like the theatre being so intimate, is when Heather Chandler dies, if you're on front row, it is funny. It's always funny watching people's reaction when Heather Chandler goes down and her arm is halfway across someone. It's funny as well.
Do you know what? Do you know what got me the other day? I did the death scene and I was lying on my side like this, and my hand was actually hanging off the stage, and I could feel someone's breath on it, and I was like, like, don't corpse, oh my god. So then when I finally came up to sing again, I was like, thank God for that. It's just so funny because you can feel that the audience member is going, oh my god, she's so uncomfortably close to me right now, and I'm like, don't worry, I feel that too, but it's okay, we're in this together.
My favourite reaction with that bit, my favourite reaction I've ever seen is when Chandler goes down. I've seen an audience member go from looking really close to going,
yeah. Because it's quite intense breaking of the fourth wall, right? And I mean, the other palace, the front row is so intense. In the Heathers reveal, so much dry ice comes out, so much smoke comes out on stage. When I'm stood there and Heather Chandler, she is a mythic, and I look up like this, in my peripheral, all I can see is people on the front going, I can't see anything. There's so much smoke just rolling off the stage right into their faces. I'm like, oh God, just fan it away, guys, it'll go eventually.
Yeah, it's the first 3 rows that get the worst of it. It's the first 3 rows. It's always fun. Like front row at the Upper Palace, you're practically on the stage at this point. You're
and these are the people that we can see the most clearly, right? So it's their reactions that kind of determine how well the show is going for us. Because if we come out and you know, we can tell if it's that there are certain days of the week where the show is slightly quieter from an audience perspective, because you know, it's a Tuesday night, everyone's got work tomorrow, it's the beginning of the week, and people are generally a lot more reserved. But on a Friday night, all I can see is people with all the Heathers cocktails in their hands, and by Act 2 everyone's a little bit like, you know, all the adults are often a little bit drunk, or the younger people that are coming to see it are excited because it's the weekend, and those are generally the more slightly louder audiences. But it's always that front row that we can see, if they're looking up at us like, oh my god, we're like, oh, this is going to be a great show, it's going to be a really good show.
I think the funniest front row thing I've seen, before I pass over to Kristine to do her random question, which genuinely, this has confused past guests, no joke. But one of the things is, one of the funniest moments I've seen happen on front row, was, I think someone put their drink on stage during the curtain call, and it was Tom Scanlon. Tom Scanlon just picked up their drink when everyone goes backstage, just picked up the drink on the stage and told them, I'm taking this, and walked off.
Hilarious. Do you know, it's so close to you, that stage. That happens all the time, because people just, without even thinking, they go, oh, I need to put my drink down, right, I'm going to do that, and then the stewards often come and be like, I'm really sorry, that is actually the stage. You can't put your drink there. But that happens quite a lot. But oh my god, brilliant that Tom Scanlon did that. That's hilarious.
Other things Tom Scanlon has done is, when Heathers had to take 10 days off for COVID, he became this whole meme of like, oh, is Heathers on tonight? And he would start shouting no. And during the first curtain call back, he looked like straight at the audience and just smiled and went, no.
Brilliant. Amazing.
Tom is nuts. But yeah, I'm now going to pass over to Kristine to ask some random questions. I genuinely don't know what to come out with this every week.
I'm nervous.
Okay. We're going to do some random questions here before we get to the big one. Okay, so do you have like any stage nicknames or any nicknames that you go by?
I not in this contract yet, but beforehand, because my name's Olivia Barrett Legh, people shorten it to OBL, just my initials. Friends do that, but then also my teachers at drama school always called me OBL.
Awesome. All right, a big question here. Have you ever fallen or almost have fallen during a stage bow?
Sorry, so somebody just interrupted me there. Could you say
It got you this time.
It's my turn. Okay. All right, rewind. Okay. Have you ever
Sorry.
fallen or almost fallen during a stage bow?
Not during a stage bow, but so in Heathers, in the moment where right at the beginning when we're in the bathroom with Veronica and you know this could be beautiful, we're looking in the mirror and I turn to her and go, okay, and she goes, okay, and then we walk off and it's meant to be a strut, right? I'm meant to look at the audience, give a cheeky smile and then strut off. And not on the opening night, it was in one of our first shows last week, I went over on my ankle and I was like, oh, and then I had to strut off like this, and it was the most embarrassing thing because that's the problem. If you trip up or something, it's just not very Heather Chandler. So people go, oh, that wasn't meant, was it? Whereas if you're, especially for the ensemble, if you're like, Mac is a lot sweeter and a lot more like, doesn't really know what's going on. So if she trips, it's kind of part of her character. But if Chandler does it, it's like evidently a mistake.
Yes. Okay, now if Heather Chandler could give you life advice, what would it be?
Own every room you walk into. Act as if you are the only person in that room. Confidence.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely.
So what is your favorite song from Heather's, whether it's one that you sing or whether it's an ensemble or someone else sings? What's your favorite song from the show?
Dead Gay Sun, 100%.
Yes.
It's the most,
yes.
It's fun to listen to. It's the most fun to, even the backing vocals, like the bits we sing as an ensemble are, and it's the one song in the show where it just gets the best audience reaction every single night. And we're all looking at each other. Like there's minutes where we look back at the dads like this, and all you can see is the other people, like your cast members, your friends on stage, and we all just look at each other like, God, this is such a good number, isn't it? Like we just love it.
That's one of my favorites as well. It's like, oh my gosh, yes. All right. Okay, so do you have any hidden talents?
Hidden talents. I hate to disappoint you. I don't think
That's why they're hidden.
my hidden talent when I was younger was that I could sing in tune, but that's not really a hidden talent anymore.
You've developed your hidden talent into a career.
Yeah. Now pays my bills. So
yeah, there you go. There you go. So you never know what your hidden talent will do for you, right? Okay. Another question before the big one. Okay, what makes your Heather Chandler different from those who have played Heather Chandler before?
Something I've struggled with my whole performing life is how tall I am. I'm a tall gal, and for a long time I really hated that about myself. But in this contract, playing Heather Chandler, something that I haven't seen very often, I think every Chandler that I've seen so far has been very grounded and very like sassy. But what I haven't seen before is like quite an elegant, floaty Chandler that literally, like, taking the phrase, they float above it all, quite literally. But I thought this is something where I can use my height. And instead of, I had this conversation with the director, instead of walking Like my Chandler doesn't walk, she glides. You know, like she looks down on people from a place of like elegance rather than a place of sass. I mean, the sass comes into it, don't get me wrong, but that's a hard question because obviously I haven't seen it, because I do it. But I would say that is maybe different from the Chandlers that I've seen so far.
Excellent. Yes, I struggle with that too. I'm like 5'2", and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for a troll here. Let's go. It's hard. It's hard, but you have to play your height to the advantage of any character that you get. So like that is
Absolutely.
awesome. That is awesome. All right. Big question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
If the world was covered in lava and you had just one day to live, would you ride the carousel with only one sock on, and which sock would it be?
Pardon?
Okay.
Just once more.
Okay. If the world was covered in lava and you just had one day to live, would you ride the carousel with only one sock on, and which sock would it be?
Like literally what foot?
Yes.
Do you know what? I am a left leg kicker when I dance, so I'm going to say my right. I'd keep my right sock on, so I've got a little bit of grip.
Woo, yes.
I will say that is not the weirdest. That is genuinely normally a response we've had with that question. This is or these sort of like questions. The first time we pulled that out, Lauren Jones, who is Trish / alternate Bonnie in Bonnie and Clyde, she genuinely looked like so confused.
Right foot.
See, she's got it right there, right foot, you know, right?
And now to move on with some Instagram questions, because that was always quite fun. So obviously you sort of really answered one already, which is obviously favorite song in the show. But obviously, is there any song in the show that you don't sing apart from Dead Gay Son that you would love to sing one day?
Shine a Light. I love that song. I'm in the wings singing. I think Miss Fleming is such a gift of a character, and I would love to play that role one day. And especially with the Steve section with the improv, I think I could have so much fun with that. And oh my god, our Fleming at the minute, Rachel Breeze, she is incredible. And we have to pick the Steve beforehand so that everyone shines their light onto the same person. And there was one night that one of the members of the cast, Kane, his partner was in, who's a dentist, and we'd all kind of secretly decided, right, Kane's partner is going to be Steve because he sat in the right place and it makes sense. And if that it brings joy to the cast members when we pick some. I can't believe you've done this. And all the lights went on to Will, and Rachel there were so many dentist jokes. Oh my god, it was hilarious. And moments like that make me go, God, I really wish I could play that part. Really wish I could play it. So yeah, shine a light.
I think versions of like the Steve joke I've seen, one of my favorites that I love seeing is when ex-cast members turn up and they get dragged into it. One of perfect example we had recently was I think Jacob Young, who had left the show as a cover for Ram at one point, and he came in. I think he was supposed to be ill, but he came in on the last show, and he just got picked as Steve, and it was funny as hell.
Well, that's it. If you're an ex-cast member, or if you know the cast, you know what to expect. And sometimes I think the Steves get a bit caught short because they're like, wait, what on earth is going on right now? But if you're expecting it, we often find that those people have a lot more fun with us on stage. Well, not me, because I'm obviously not on stage for that bit, but you can tell when you've accidentally picked another actor, and they get up and they're like, yes, I am Steve. And like, oh, brilliant. This is going to be a lot of fun. And Jeremy, our MD, is thinking, right, we're going to have to keep this ramp going for a long time. This is going to be a long improv. Yeah, it's great fun. It's really great fun.
It is always funny looking up at the MD monitor occasionally during Steve and just seeing the MD slightly having the look of, for God's sake.
Yeah. Our MD, Jeremy, he is such a legend. He's one of the best people I've ever worked with. He always gives us little like little nods on the screen, or if something sounds really good, he always looks at the screen and goes like that, so we can all see it. It's great fun, because we've got those monitors backstage as well, so if we're singing backing vocals, we can watch him. So he loves to communicate with us, like, to let us know if we're doing well or not. It's really good.
Of course. And the next Instagram question is, favorite line in the show, either one of your own or someone else's?
The chainsaw line. It's got to be.
Yes, come on.
Yes. Got to be. And not so iconic, but because it's like, it's just so, it makes so much sense in that moment. Like, Martha's about to catch her out, the person that just killed me for murdering me. I don't know, what else would you say? Do you know what I mean? It's, yeah. And it was reaction, so it's got to be that.
Yeah, I think another Chandler line when she's dead is, I think it's in the same scene. It depends on who's playing Chandler, but the funny one is when she goes, I'm in love with this fat girl. Like, it's funny as hell.
They complement each other so nicely. And the fact that Martha can't see or hear me, it just makes it even funnier. Yeah, I love it. Brilliant scene. I think that's actually probably my favourite scene in the whole show, because I always forget it's coming as well. And I'm on stage and then Martha comes on and I go, oh yeah, oh my God, we're about to do that scene that I really love. Come on then, let's do it. It's great fun.
It is. It's got so many, it's got so many, don't worry. It's got a load of funny moments as well, like Kurt and Ram saying, Veronica's going to lady prison.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was like, who came up with that? Like, Larry O'Keefe and Kevin Murphy, the writers, they do lots of things very well, but their comedic timing and the writing is just brilliant.
Of course. And one of the really important questions from Instagram was, where were you when you got the call for the show?
I was in my bedroom and I was with my partner. I was getting ready to go to work, and I was working as a nanny at the time, and I auditioned actually for the tour, and I didn't audition for Heather Chandler. I was being seen, as far as I knew, for Midwestern Surfer Punk, so that's what I was expecting. And I'd called my agent a few times, like, oh, have you heard anything back from Heather's? She was like, you're not in for the tour anymore, but they're considering you for the extension at the other palace. I was like, okay. And I kept calling and calling, to the point where, emailing even, not calling, to the point where my agent was like, it's okay. Let's just put it to bed, because for your own, mental health, you've just got to accept that maybe this is a no. And then I was getting ready, feeling a bit deflated to go and do my nannying job. And then I got a call, and my agent was like, I told you to forget about Heather's. Yeah, don't, because they'd like to offer you Heather Chandler. And I just cried. Mm-hmm. It would have been for Midwestern Surfer Punk, which would have been amazing. But I wasn't expecting at all to get Heather Chandler. So yeah, I just sobbed. I ran into all the different rooms in our flat, told flatmates, rang my mum, rang my best friends, all within the first 10 minutes of finding out, because I was just in so much shock. Yeah, it was a beautiful moment.
Of course. And out of this is one I find quite interesting, is if you could be in any other show that's currently on the West End, closing or coming to the West End, what would you want to be in and why?
Well, for the longest time, that the answer to that was Heather's. So I would say Probably Back to the Future or Cabaret. Cabaret, it'd be Cabaret. I would love to be a part of that show. Toby is a swing in it, and every time I watch it, it's just so different from anything else that's on right now, and it's so funny. It's so brilliant. Yeah, I'd say I'd love to be in the ensemble of not Heathers, more Heathers, Cabaret.
I mean, I think for me, I think one of my dream roles currently on the West End is Christian in Moulin Rouge, just mainly due to one song in particular, and that is Roxanne. The opt up on Roxanne is, we have a show currently where I do Roxanne. I cannot do that. That opt up at the end, I question the Broadway actor, like, how? How can you do that opt up?
Moulin Rouge is seen yet, but a girl that I trained with, Vanessa Ella Young, she's alternate Satine.
I've seen her. I saw her a couple of weeks back as Satine. She's brilliant as Satine.
But she's also one of life's really warm, lovely people who just deserve everything that they get. So I really do need to, on my day off, I'll have to book in to try and see her, because yeah, she's just beautiful as well, isn't she? Every time I see pictures of her on the stage, I'm like, oh my God, all my attention is on you right now, girl. Like, you look amazing.
Yeah, it's like Vanessa Satine was so much fun. And obviously when I went to see it, we also had Robson Broad on, who was covering for Christian. Them two as covers were brilliant. A wonderful chemistry, and I'm definitely going to book in and see Vanessa a lot more as Satine. Highly recommend it. Yeah, Kristine, any other question? Satine, Kristine.
Same thing. As long as you don't pronounce Santiago's name as San Diego again, we're good.
Okay, I have a thing of doing that. I have a thing of saying Santiago as I've done it. I can say Christian, but no, Toulouse-Lautrec is one that I tend to crack up on. I love how Olivia's looking at us like, I got nothing to do with this. No. I mean, like, yeah, it's a lot of fun. But obviously, as we come to the end, where can people find you on social? Where can people find you on social media, Olivia, if they want to see you rock it as Chandler?
Sorry, could you say that one more time? I missed that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, this is going to be a long day for all of us. Where's the vodka? Right, so where can people find you on social media for those who want to follow you?
So I'm on Instagram. That's probably where I'm most active. My Instagram handle is Olivia Barrett Legh _ and then also on TikTok, my name on TikTok is Olivia B Legh _ the only one I'm not so active on is Twitter, honestly, because I'm just a bit of an old lady about it. I don't really understand how it works. And I also forgot my login. So if you're tagging me and stuff on Twitter and I'm not responding, it's just because I actually can't use it. So yeah, Instagram and TikTok are the places where I'm most active.
Yeah, Twitter, I only go on there occasionally just to see, oh, look, best thing to follow on Twitter for those who love West End covers is the Twitter page at West End Understudies. They literally could tell everyone's understudies from like 20 plus shows in the West End, and it blows my mind.
I don't know how they're
going to keep up.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes they know an understudy's going on before the understudy knows.
I mean, like we were saying about understudies. Understudies are like the back. Understudies and swings. I'll mention swings as well. Understudies and swings are the backbone of this industry, and I feel like I'm glad now that we're starting to appreciate understudies and swings a hell of a lot more now. As Kristine can back me up here, it's not easy. We've done shows online where we've had people do mid-show swings, even online. That is a lot of fun. So
it happened in the last cast when Nate was on as JD once, and he just got really, really poorly halfway through the show, bless him. And I think it was halfway through Act 1, George had to go on. It was like, brilliant, okay, here we go. It's
like switch.
yeah, I've had a show like that at Heathers once where I think it was early into the run. We had Freddie King on at the start of the show as JD, but then after Our Love Is God, we come back for the start of Dead Gay Son, and Jacob is on.
Happens all the time.
It's brilliant, of course. But yeah, we've come to the end of the episode. Once again, thank you, Olivia, so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure to have you on. And of course, listeners, please go see Olivia and the rest of the cast in Heathers at the Upper Palace. Even if you don't know the film, just go watch it. I feel like Heathers is one of them shows you don't even need to see the film to go and watch it.
It's almost better if you turn up not knowing what to expect, I think.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, obviously follow Olivia on her social medias. You can also find me on Instagram as well. You can find me on Instagram at knashstandup01. Where can they find you, Kristine?
They can find me on linktree/Kristine.Knowlton. Everything is up there on my Instagram, Twitch. Everything is in one spot, one location. And it has been amazing talking with you, Olivia. You have glowed the entire time talking about Heather Chandler. And I hope you just continue the role like forever.
Oh, thank you. It's so kind.
I mean, I do believe like it is amazing though, seeing how many people, like how long people stay on for at Heathers. Like, you know, some people stay on for like the 3-6 months contract. I don't know what this contract is. I know for Moulin Rouge, their contract is a year, which just blows my mind. But then you see people like Elsa Davison, who was like Veronica for so long.
Yeah, I see why. It's addictive, honestly. It's a really fun show to be a part of, and shows aren't always this fun to be in. Sometimes you really have to dig to find the fun moments. So I think once you're part of a show like this, you just never want to leave, really.
Yeah, of course. I think I'm gonna I'll finish in a minute, but like I say with understudies, it's amazing. One of the understudies at Heathers I really want to call out at the moment is Elliot David Parks. The amount of stuff he covers is nuts. You like anyone who doesn't know, Elliot covers a lot in this show. And
like our agony aunt backstage, if anyone's got a problem, he is the first person that we go to, because he's just so wonderful. I have a really special place in my heart for Elliot, because he's got us through some really hard days, and yeah, he deserves all the success.
And also, if anyone's seen Elliot as JD, his JD is psychopathic. Like, that's why I love to finish the song Meant to Be Yours, because if you're in JD's eye line, it's terrifying. It's terrifying if you're in the eye line. And I'm looking at Jacob Fowler mainly at that. Jacob made it more just as terrifying. I'm going to start comparing JDs in a minute. They're all psychopathic. That's what I'm saying. Anyone here who has played JD, you're all psychopaths. You are. But yes, thank you so much, Olivia, for coming on the show. And if you guys have enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow us all on our social medias and stay tuned for future episodes. We've got some very exciting ones. We may have some more Heathers ones coming up very soon. Maybe a couple more Bonnie and Clyde. Who knows? Who knows who's coming on? But this has been season 3, episode whatever of the show. I've lost count. We've done about 55 episodes over 3 years now. So it's like we're doing an episode. This has been a lot of fun, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day, listeners, and of course people in the room, because I know some people have got a career to go to.
Off to the theatre.
Oh, great. Yeah. Okay, you can stop.